there, Griff Hamlin here from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Welcome, thanks for joining me. Today's video obviously doesn't sound very bluesy, and it isn't gonna be bluesy at all. It's going to be strummy. Strummy is good. You have to be able to strummy to do other stuff. I mean, typically, the reality for most guitar players is, we're strumming while someone is singing perhaps, or while another instrument is playing. You have to be able to strum. You have to be able to keep good time. So what I want to talk about today is what I commonly call double time strumming. And what I mean by that is we're breaking down the beats into 16th notes. It tends to be a slightly slower tempo, things like Hotel California, Wonderwall by Oasis. I mean, there's gobs and gobs and gobs of songs that, fit into this kind of general vibe. What's the one? Tom Petty, Last Dance with Mary Jane, is a great example of what we're going to talk about today, which is kind of a leading with the bass note idea. So I'm going to kind of handle a few different things. First, I'm going to talk about the differences between what I call, regular strumming and double time strumming. We're going to talk about, making sure that your right arm, or if you're, I'll say a switch hitter, your left arm, whatever one is doing the strumming, we want that to keep the time. And I want to talk about the ever important and so often overlooked difference between double time and regular strumming as far as where you put the pulse, where you tap your foot, for lack of a better word. It really, really makes a big difference. And then the other thing that we'll talk about is how to kind of lead with that bass note to get that type of sound. So I'm not going to show you how to play any one particular song, but I'm going to give you a bunch of little bits and pieces from a bunch of different songs, probably simply because there are so many different songs that use this exact idea. I guarantee you're going to hear probably several that you recognize, even if I don't mean to. It's just one of those things that happens a lot. Okay, so let's jump right in. When we strum, in general, we are using the strumming hand, like I said, to keep the time. So you may be familiar with what I call the most popular strum in the world. Okay, and I'm just playing an open G chord. It can be E, it can be A, it can be C. It doesn't matter, I just happen to like G. I'm using what I call the rock and roll G, where I have my third and my fourth fingers on those top two strings, as opposed to the B string being open, which I tend to call barnyard G. It's more country sounding, so that's what I call it. So I'm using my rock and roll G, and the tempo, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see that my hand and my foot kind of work together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you don't like to count, you can use something like apple, 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 apple. Any two-syllable word will give you what you need to subdivide the beats. The beat is my foot, right? Now, I could turn this same beat into a double time strum. It's going to be a little bit fast, right? Okay, if you think like watermelon, watermelon, that's a 4-syllable word. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3. So in either case, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, this right arm is the engine that makes it all work. It will constantly go. It will never stop. It will keep nice and steady. And if you follow it, everything will work out. If you at any point in your song find yourself quickly doing 2 downs or quickly doing 2 ups or getting anything out of sync, or this arm stops for any reason or speeds up, everything will fall apart and things will sound bad. It's just that simple. I've had literally dozens, if not hundreds of students over the years that have come to me and they're like, I know all these songs and I feel like I can play them pretty well, but I never feel like I, own them. I never feel like I get that last little bit. It always feels a little bit funky or sketchy when I try to play it, with other people. In every single case, the reason is because they're doing some twisted, odd thing with their strumming arm. They're doing like where they're doing 2 downs in a row or 2 ups. Something like that. There's some weird thing going on. If we can fix that, it locks everything into time every time. So that's the first really, really important thing. Okay, so we have what I call the most popular strum in the world. 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so you notice that I'm striking down, down, up, down. But don't just go down, down, up, down. You want to keep this nice and steady, right? 1, 2. Imagine like there's a string between my hand and my knee. And see how they just kind of both go together. Okay, so that is what I call a regular strum. We're dividing the beats into 2 pieces. It's nice and steady. And there are, hundreds and hundreds of songs that you can use that basic strum pattern on. Okay, Brown Eyed Girl, Margaritaville, Peaceful Easy Feeling, the list goes on and on and on and on. You can grab just about any classic rock songbook from the 70s or 60s, and you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of songs and options to choose from. It's a great strum, works for darn near everything. However, what happens is things start to slow down a little bit, and we start to want to have a little bit more movement. Right? So like 1 and a 2 and a 3. So the first thing that you got to get the hang of is simply hitting the strings that many times and keeping your arm moving. And you want to pay attention to the little bit of a accent that I gave on the downbeat. So notice that I'm accenting that downbeat a little bit. Now, I probably don't want to hit every single strum. I probably want something like this. Down. So what I'm doing is I'm just skipping that very first up strum. It doesn't mean my arm doesn't move. It just means I go away from the strings. So I'm either striking my strings or I pull out a little bit and I'm not striking my strings. But either way, that right arm keeps moving. That strumming arm has to keep moving. So I could get something like this. Okay? Or I could do something like that, or right? I can do them in any combination I want, based on what I hear. So a lot of times people will say, how can you just listen to something and know what to strum? Well, I just strum what I hear. So, I listen to, rhythmically how something goes. And if you listen to something and you just move your arm along with it, every time you hear them do something, hit the strings. That's really all there is to it. It's not like I have perfect pitch. It's not like I have some amazing gift or strange talent or anything. I mean, obviously I've developed it over the years, but it truly is simply a matter of hitting the strings. My arm keeps moving, right? If I'm hearing a song and my arm is moving, every time I hear them do something, I hit the guitar. But other than that, it's just my arm moving. I'm not thinking about what beat it is. I don't know. I don't really care. It's literally just keeping my arm moving. And when I hear something happen on the song that I'm trying to play, I hit the strings. If I don't hear anything going on, I don't hit the strings. It's really, really that simple. So I might get something like this. Sometimes because we change chords in the middle. So sometimes I'll play a whole bar will be one chord. Let's go to A minor. And you'll notice that I'm kind of breaking it down into some just downs and some both directions. 1, 2, 3, 4. So to do that, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I do that, if you have your guitar in your hands right now, and you grab an A minor, let's grab a G chord. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just keep your arm moving at that pace. You just keep your arm moving. Just keep it moving. Don't hit any strings. Hit the strings when I hit the strings. And hopefully that worked. Hopefully that worked. If you just kind of keep the movement along with me for a little while, your ear will sort of start to hear, right? You sort of get that to where you can hum it. You get to where you can hum it, okay? And your arm is moving. Your brain is going to connect that sound to that motion. That's what we want, okay? So once you got that, what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit fancy. Those first two, instead of the whole chord, I'm gonna put a little bit of palm mute, and I'm gonna only kind of aim at the lower strings. So it's gonna be like this. Again, just keep your arm moving. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I've added a couple of things. One, I'm changing chords. I'm going from G to D to A minor to C. Okay? A lot of times in this style of playing, we do change chords a little more often. So we're going to have 1 and 2 and... So notice that those first two, I'm going to strike, and with a little bit of palm mute, just a touch. Okay, now we're still going kind of slow. Full speed would be about here. But you can hear it gives a little bit more of that percussive sound. We have on 1, 3, 2, right? So we kind of get that little back and forth. If you think of a drum, the kick drums are on 1, snares on 2. Kick drums on 3, snares on 4. That's the basic thing of rock music in general. So we want to have a slightly muted 1, 2 is big, 3 is slightly muted, 4 is big, 1 is slightly muted, 2 is big, 3 is slightly muted, 4 is big. Right? If I change the chords to something like A minor, G, and D, and A minor, you can hear Tom Petty. And it's really not that fast, right? So if we want to go nice and slow, 3, 4. And notice that even when I do that, my arm is still moving. Even though, yeah, I'm kind of rubbing against strings and I've still got stuff going on. I'm still keeping the movement. And I'm not being very precise about which strings I'm hitting. And you can't be super timid, right? Like I'm hitting the guitar. So if you're really timid, if that's the sound you're going for, that's cool. But that's usually not what we're going for. Now here's the other cool thing. If you get the hang of this, and you get this right arm moving the way it's supposed to be moving, you can't possibly make a mistake. That's really awesome, okay? Because if you accidentally hit the strings, again, well, I just get more strums in there. It just sounds like variation. It never ever sounds wrong because I'm still keeping time. This arm is still doing what it needs to do. It's still carrying the music forward. This arm, as long as this hand has got the chord and this hand has got the rhythm, it can't possibly go wrong. It's pretty impossible to really mess it up. Even if I hit every single thing, right? Maybe it's not the greatest, but it's not horrible. At least it's in time. You can hear the chords. Everything would work out. And you're surely not going to do it you're not going to make that many mistakes. It's pretty much, that's it. As long as you keep this moving, keep this doing what it's supposed to do, everything's going to work out. So, hopefully that makes some sense to you. I tried to play nice and slowly. I hope you will go back, watch those parts of this video again, and try it with me. It's really, really important that you do that. If you happen to have one of those cool Vidami things and you can rewind it, that's even better. I love that. You just click the button and it goes back. You don't have to take your hands off the guitar. So that's kind of a cool way to approach this sort of stuff. But it's important that you just play it over and over and over again. That's going to get your time and tempo consistent. If you have trouble playing into a looper, this may be why. You may not be keeping that consistent, steady time that a looper requires. If you don't have it, it's gonna, every time it starts over, it's gonna jump. So you gotta watch that kind of stuff, okay? If you would like to learn more about strumming and all that entails, I do have a course called Strumming and Rhythm Mastery. I will try to leave a link near this video. It is not blues. It is all different kinds of things, ranging from country to rock, and some blues, yes, but it is all strumming in all styles. It is a very comprehensive course. So I'll leave a link near this video. You can check that out. And if you have guitar playing friends, I hope you'll share this video with them, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.